As part of our rhythm to do, before we send the note out, we have people talk about what St. Francis means to them. Carol Rice did that last week, and Brian and Terry Murphy are here this morning to do that as well. So Brian and Terry, please come forward.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's absolutely wonderful to stand here at Mark's request, Brian and I, to speak about what St. Francis means to us. We moved here in 1978, and we've been at St. Francis all of that time. We bought a rundown. Oh, it was such an awful house in such terrible condition. My brother was one of my brothers was in New York City, and he said, "Don't you tell Mom and Dad what you bought, or they'll kill Brian." And he was right. I never told them, and they then kind of caught on, because we had to send our two little daughters, 4 and 1, down to be with my parents, so that we tore the place apart, plumbing, electric, plaster, everything. So that was our thought as we were trying to get our act together. We knew no one. We didn't know anyone in Stamford. So here we are, covered in plaster, and I find on the floor in the corner a dusty telephone book. Remember those? Okay. So I opened it up. Brian was somewhere working in the house, and I looked up Episcopalian churches. This was just the little Stamford book. It was little back then. And I said, "Brian, do we live on Long Ridge Road?" I didn't even know what our address was. And he said, "Yes, Terry, we live on Long Ridge Road." Well, guess what I found? There's an Episcopalian church. I guess it's kind of near us. We're 2215, that's 2810. Yes, Terry. So I picked up the phone, and it was answered by Rich Mayberry. When do you ever have a priest in charge pick up the phone, right? All right. He did. He was brand new, just like we were. So he came to our house, knocked on the door one day, and came in. We were covered with our plaster, and we were all messed up. And he said, "Are you going to be back here after Christmas with your children? Because we have an Epiphany service that I think you'll enjoy." And I said, "Yeah, we'll plan to be there." He said, "I have someone I want you to meet." We came back. We went to the historic church. And I was there this morning speaking, and just telling this story of the candlelight, the Epiphany service. It brought such magic. It was the first time we had ever been to St. Francis for a service, and there we were. So we went in, and he introduced us to Easy and Michael Arnett, and their 2 girls, those daughters, and our daughters were the same ages. They went to the same schools all the way up until college. And this was just, again, one of the magic moments for us at St. Francis. That kind of spiritual journey has continued for us and with us even until today. St. Francis is our family. And as Carol spoke last Sunday, this is our community. It's a very special one, anchored in a very busy, growing, diverse area. We represent that diversity here, and we share our love, and through Mark's leadership, reach out into the community, just as Reverend Hill was telling us this morning. His influence and our influence on Stamford is profound. many of our fellow churchgoers became not just friends, but best friends as well. There have been so many examples of support that St. Francis has given to us. The list would go on, but very quickly bringing food to us. Alice Smith on her hands and knees in the snow. The night that we were there by ourselves before leaving for Washington, D.C., drove up in her big old Cadillac that couldn't make the hill. We had something called covered dish. We were sitting by the fire in our little messy spot, and she brought food to us, even a bottle of wine. All right. God bless her name. Then another thing would be driving, babysitting, bedside visits to us when we were ill, and very importantly, sharing ideas and listening to each other. Because what I'm learning, I'm one who talks a lot. I'm learning to be quiet because talking doesn't teach me anything. I can really only learn when I'm quiet, listening to others. So we are an open, loving, supportive group of folks who just appreciate each other. And our leadership over the 45 years with Richard Mayberry and Mark Lingle has been a gift to us all. We still have each other, right? And it's their inspiration that will continue the legacy for us to move forward as we go. Thank you.
So now you'll hear from the second best speaker in the Murphy household. During the 46 years we've been at St. Francis, we've been fortunate to have only two priests. Richard Mayberry for the first 20, Richard and Mark for the next 10, and then Mark the last 15. That's highly unusual. Most denominations, you have a 6-year cycle, and then they leave, or maybe you have a 6-year re-up. But to be 46 years with two is so unusual. For St. Francis, this means we have not conducted a calling in all that time. The last calling was done by Carol Rice, a long time ago. We must now do that with Mark leaving. He will walk out the front door, having been a great shepherd for our flock. What will not happen is that the building will come tumbling down like the walls of Jericho. I swear that Reverend Hill and I did not coordinate our speech. So this morning when he gave his talk, it was like, oh my goodness. So there is some divine intervention or whatever. The structure of the church will still be the same when Mark leaves. After all, it's made of plaster, wood, and metal. What will not change is the most important thing, which is the heart and soul of this congregation, our community, and you. It's people saying, sure, I can help. It's the annual outreach to the community, especially the last years with the monies raised by the Miles for a Mission. And I can tell you that the amount of money we donate is sometimes much, much more than churches that are 2-3 times our size. So it's a real compliment that we have an outward look to our church. It's all the volunteers that help with all the committees and the fun we have together socializing and being together on Sundays. So what's ahead for us? We have to call a priest after having experienced 2 superstars. I'd like to think that good things happen in 3s. The process starts with the church needing to understand who they are. And we've been fortunate that we've already conducted 2 major surveys, and we have a great understanding from the parishioners of why they like St. Francis. We've also been involved with the Reimagining project over the last 3 years. And the written results of that work has been shared with the congregation and now is being worked on by the executive committee and the vestry. They are developing action plans for the future of St. Francis, and we will all be part of that process. Not having a priest as we start that process should not be a burden, but rather an opportunity to have a clean slate so that we can continue to strengthen this community we call home. I'm looking forward to that challenge and know that you will all be joining me in what we can have for an exciting future. So I want you to repeat after me, and don't be shy. We can do this.
We can do this.
Together.
Together.
We can do this.
We can do this.
Together.
Together.
Amen.